Subtle skills, big results.
Welcome to the Ninja Selling Podcast.
Hey everyone, it's your good friend Eric Thompson. This is the Ninja Selling Podcast. Welcome back. Thank you for listening. We appreciate it. We have an action-packed interview. Here's the question we're going to answer today. How do you pivot from a cold lead-centric business to a relationship-centric business? How do you pivot from a massive investment into a cold lead-centric business and to a sphere-based relationship business that has a high income per hour? It's my pleasure to introduce our two guests today. We're going to start with Ryan Craig. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's our pleasure, Ryan. Tell us where you live and tell us the company that you're with.
I live in Traverse City, Michigan. So that's like the pinky. If you do the Michigan hand thing. And Traverse City is a beautiful place, born and raised there. I work with App Properties, Christie's International.
Also, tell us real quick about your family.
Oh man, how much time you got? Wonderful wife, Jenny. And then I have 5 kids, Cameron, Riker, Asher, Lachlan, and Torin, if you hear of that.
That's great. Yeah. It's great news about your family. We would love to hear about your family. It's also relevant given your level of production. Just keep that in mind. Ninjas have a high income per hour. They also have a life. You have a life. You have a big family. So Ryan, thank you again for being here. Also here with us is Ryan's coach. It's Mark Johnson. Welcome back to the podcast, Mark.
Thanks for having me, Eric. Looking forward to this day and looking forward to hearing Ryan's story out there.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. How this is going to go is we're going to hear about how Ryan's business used to be. We're going to hear about the leap, the transition, the pivot away from cold lead generation to a ninja sphere-based business. Ryan, we're going to start with the numbers because I just want to give the context to everyone. 2025, you had your best year so far, $722,000 of gross commission. Congratulations. You have a small team. How many people on the team?
It's myself, an admin, and lead buyer's agent.
That whole team together, you did 722,000, which was 47 transactions, 34 million of volume. Here's where it gets interesting. 2024 was your previous best year yet, Ryan, and that was 588,000. 2024 was a cold lead generation based business for you. And even before we get into the details, you had a larger team back then.
I had 7 people on my team and then ISA. So really about 8 or 9 people that I was checking in weekly with.
So that's a snapshot of what it used to look like. And right when you were focused on cold leads, how much were you investing per month just in leads?
I would say on average, I would invest $10,000 plus a month in leads. Sometimes higher than that, don't want to admit, but It was always trying to find that better lead source. So I did a lot of stuff to get.
You were in the neighborhood of 10,000 a month. And on top of that, you told me that there's more to it because you have to have the infrastructure in place. So you told me you were investing, you were spending how much per month in total to run that kind of business?
Overhead was close to $35,000 a month.
That's it. Okay. So $35,000 a month is what it took to run a business like that. And what it takes now, it is how much per month now?
Yeah, it's about $9,500.
$9,500. So we're going to call that $10,000 a month. Now it used to be $35,000 a month, which is $25,000 a month difference. So you've dropped your overhead by $25,000 a month, which is $300,000 in a year. So not only have you increased your income by having a sphere-based business by $134,000, you also dropped your overhead by $300,000. Mark and I are giving you high fives right now. It's just tremendous. So what's it like for you, Ryan, to hear that?
So when I found Ninja, because I was in the cold lead generation and overcoming objections and that kind of stuff, I bought the book for my wife, who was in real estate with me at the time, and she's more passive in nature. So I thought this would be a really good way that she could learn how to build relationships. And she doesn't like the salesy pitch kind of stuff. And that is my personality type. I think Mark would tell you I'm high D. So I bought it for her, and we were listening to it on the way down to Georgia. And as soon as I started hearing Larry talk and his philosophy about building relationships and how to have peace and how to establish something more than just conversion and transaction, I fell in love. So I was rewinding it. And since that time, I've just been trying to devour every inch of it. as fast as I can. But it's just kind of funny how things happen when you're looking for your who's, and I was looking for my wife's who, and it turned out to be mine.
Yeah. It's funny. It's ironic. You bought the book for your wife and you're listening to it together, and all at once you found yourself being highly attracted to it. And we're so happy that Ninja found you and that you found Ninja.
You know, one thing is, I had 2 or 3 people say, "Hey, you should read this book," a couple years ago. I said, not really my style. So I think it's just wild how it was. Like, you can't go backwards, but people were identifying. These were people in leadership that had made it at higher levels, saying they were recommending the book, and I refused to open it. So kind of wild how that all works.
We want to hear, Ryan, about what it's like to have a cold lead generation focused business like that for a couple of reasons. Number one, there are people who think about, well, maybe I should do that. So you can tell us what it's like. And also, there are people listening who are there right now, and maybe they are feeling trapped or they're not sure, so they can be able to relate to what you're going to share. So tell us all about having a business like that.
I first just want to say it's an illusion. You can spend money and get contact information 1,000 different places online, and it's really a false sense of profitability. You think the more leads you get, the more people, just a numbers game, you eventually contact, you eventually do an appointment. But that life, I had 7,500 people in my CRM. So any given morning, I'd have 5 or 6 different people that just had questions that I'm speed to lead, trying to get that answer as fast as I can, missing all of the relationship building and literally just being on 24 hours a day. And that was exhausting. I don't know how many times I was laying on the floor, felt like my heart was palpitating at 11:30 at night because somebody asked a question and it had been 2 minutes and nobody answered. So I was. So that type of life, it feels like you're doing something because you're getting leads. Maybe you're having some conversations. Maybe you're getting a text. You're hopeful and you're driving around, you're opening, you're doing all the things that realtors do, other than you don't always end up with a sale. You don't end up with a relationship, and people are less loyal now than ever before. And they sure don't mind. I almost felt like a robot. They were just kind of telling me where to go and what to do. And they were doing it a lot of times from out of state. Up in Michigan, we're a vacation tourist town, a lot of second home owners. So I was doing all kinds of virtual things for people at any time of day. And I'll just tell you, the cold lead style of business, you can only go so far until you just run out of gas. And I thought, if I just get to this amount, then it'll be fine. If I just build this team out that can handle the overflow, I'll be fine. And the truth is, there is no, in my opinion, there is no real sense of purpose in that type of real estate business.
What was your life like? I'm thinking about your family and evenings, your weekends. What did that used to be like?
I love real estate, but I love personal growth too. And I would do different classes, seminars. And by the time I get done with it and you learn all these ahas and what was it, it always ended at the same thing that, really what I was trying to achieve was to be a great father. I want to be a great dad. And, one of the things being a great dad, you have to be present. And I wasn't present around my kids. They mean the world to me. And I was on the phone all the time. So I was always showing them that they weren't as important. And being on the phone with your kids sitting next to you, trying to tell you about how awesome their day was, and you're holding your index finger up saying just one more minute, that crushes your soul. That's what my life was like for about 4 years. From the time I woke up, I have a lot of clients on the West Coast, so it's 11:30, 12:30 at night. So I wasn't mentally present. I was physically present at the games, but I wasn't mentally present to actually have that conversation. I feel like I missed some years with my kids.
Yeah. Good for you for making the leap and committing to change. And let's talk about that. So there you were in, as I understand it, January 2025. You made the decision. I'm going to stop this cold lead approach. And this is not working for me for a lot of reasons. I'm going to go more sphere-based. And so what was that like? How did you do it? And so many people think about doing it. I personally talk to a lot of people who are afraid to do it. They have no clue how. So I think what you have to share can help them. How'd you do it?
I was listening to one of your podcasts and you were talking to an agent. I think you quoted him, or maybe it was Larry. They were a freak of nature. And I was listening to that. And that's what I was always trying to do, is I was trying to bring on agents and teach them how I did it. And that always fell short. And that part was just exhausting in itself because I poured into them. I think they're finally going. I spent a fortune on them, and then they melt in the chair, they leave. And realizing that you can't do that, you need a process. So they can become the best version of themselves by following that process and finally believing that I can't teach someone how to do it the way I did it. I had to start there. And once I believed that, then it was like, okay, let's find a process. And quite honestly, if this wouldn't have worked, I don't think I'd still be in real estate. I have an affinity for the automotive business. I like it. And this was kind of like the last ditch effort. Like this one seems like it makes a lot of sense. The philosophy makes a lot of sense. Building relationships and having deeper relationships with friends that happen to be clients, that sound like a great time. But the belief that they wanted to talk to me, even though I haven't spoke to them in 3 years since our transaction, I did not believe that. So I actually had to do the work. I had to make the call to actually realize that. And it was cool. The more I did it, the more it compounded that courage to make the next call until I was finally looking forward to it. And kind of funny thing happens is you make enough of those calls, now your phone is blowing up because people are returning those calls. Quite a bit different than cold lead conversion when nobody answers and it takes 7 attempts to get one answer. And it's so different in so many ways, and it's a different kind of day.
Well, what was it like to turn off that switch to turn off the cold leads?
It was scary. Not every sense of the word. The CRM that I was using at the time, it told you the behavioral and who was doing what and who was clicking where. And that's usually what I started my day out with was I'm going to try to get a hold of these people because they're showing interest. And the only way I could do it was I just didn't even log on to that CRM. So I wouldn't even be tempted to distract myself. And instead I started with the handwritten letters. It seemed like a really simple thing, but I remember a training I did forever ago, and it was Mary Kay. She said she built an empire on writing 3 handwritten letters a day. And I thought, well, shoot, she did that. I can do that. Who am I to say I can't do that? Okay, now who am I going to write those letters to? And in the beginning, it had no real purpose or meaning to it, but I wrote them and I sent them out. And that was nerve-wracking, actually handwriting those out and putting them in the mail. I had a hard time. I had a lot of anxiety about putting those in the mailbox just because I had never done it. So that's where it started. And every day I just promised myself I was not going to log back into that system, even though I was still paying for it. I still had a year commitment. So I had 6 months left. So I'm seeing that, I'm feeling that pain every single month, paying that bill, but believing in the philosophy of Ninja so much, it makes so much sense. And it answered so many questions that I've had since I got into real estate of what the process should be, the timing of things, the cadence of things, that it made it easy, but it was still very difficult to pivot 180 degrees. But every day it got a little bit easier until I forgot I even had that going on.
It's almost like you had an addiction to it, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, it gave you this sense of activity. It gave you a sense of people to work with. And there you were still paying for it, yet you had the courage to stop and not look at it. What we say, what you focus on expands. So you stopped focusing on that cold lead CRM and you started focusing on relationships.
A real helpful thing I did is, I have an all-time sales list from when I got into real estate. And looking back in there, and the proof in the pudding was at the time, 87% of all my sales were from people I knew. So I knew the truth was there, that even when I was buying all those leads, it was only 17% of my total volume came from the leads. So why am I spending all my time there and zero on where our transactions are coming from? So I believed in that. But knowing that I was spending the money on it, I think it just reinforced, made me even dig in even deeper to now make the calls, because I hadn't done those in forever. I always felt if there's no dragon to slay, no home to put under contract, nothing to put on the market, I didn't see a reason why they'd want to talk to me. So I just kept digging in even deeper, because that was, at the time, that was harder for me than calling cold leads and converting them. So I was trying to do what was more difficult, and that made it exciting. And then when you start getting some results from that and you're having some of those positive conversations, then you get addicted to those conversations because your cup's getting full.
Yeah. So much more fulfilling, right?
So much more fulfilling.
So tell us what was happening for you when you decided to hire a coach.
Well, I knew I needed direction. I knew I needed accountability. And actually, I talked to you and you're like, I have the perfect guy for you. I think he'll be perfect. And when I talked to Mark, I remember the first time I was walking in my backyard, it was a sunny day. And quite honestly, I think I was hired Mark to help Jenny. And
your wife. Yeah.
My wife. Yes. And her name's Jenny Craig, but no affiliation. Never saw a check, but talked to Mark, and I just tell you what, he was so easy to talk to. And I would lay out what I thought were these huge, complicated problems, and he'd have such a simple question that led me to so much clarity. I thought, okay, it's an investment. I always had some kind of coaching or went to some kind of training, but this was different. This was like holistic. This is about me. It was about Jenny and about doing the things that would help us have a higher quality of life. So quite honestly, I couldn't wait for the first meeting. I couldn't wait to see him on Zoom because that was just a phone call. And he has been nothing but a class act. And I think I probably will be friends forever. I mean, he's helped me through so much more than just real estate. So
that's great.
Quite a bit different than what I was
happy to hear
expecting.
that. Yeah. Okay, Mark, let's hear from your perspective. You first meet Ryan, you hear where he's at, hear where he wants to go. Where did you start?
I think the same thing when you picked Ryan for me. He was also very coachable. And I think knowing his why of why he wanted to stop doing the other, to have a life, to enjoy those 5 kids so him and Jenny can do those things. Part of it was my goal and challenge of how we got to get him there really fast. The hard part is you've never been to an installation. So we don't always coach people that haven't been to an installation, but Ryan had so much coachability and so much desire that I didn't think it really mattered. I knew eventually he was going to get to one, which you just did a couple of weeks ago. So we spent the first 6 months just using his raw knowledge of the book, and then he'd listen to podcasts. We didn't really even focus so much on the systems. It was the mindset. The mindset was the base in the beginning. A lot of times you weren't there because you were out doing other things. And then it was Jenny and I. And so finally we had to kind of have a conversation of where was this going? You're like, I'm going to make the full commitment. It's just going to be me. We got a commitment. Jenny's going to be doing something different and I'm going to be all in. And I think you just embraced it ever since then.
Well, when you're working with your wife, it's awesome because you're with your wife and like you love each other, you want the best for each other, but you sometimes get in each other's ways because you're just trying to be helpful. I feel like you were a counselor for us a lot, and you did it with such class, and I appreciate it so much because you never posed a question that was hard to answer. You always posed a question that made us think. And what is the best solution and what's the best path forward? And it happened organically where it became our idea. And I'll tell you what, I just talked to Jenny before this podcast and she's helping with lunch at the school and she's just gleaming with joy. Like there she is again. So I couldn't be happier, but without you asking those questions and with such respect of what our bigger goals, our bigger whys were, and then backing it out from there. It wasn't the new trick, the new conversion, the new objection overcoming. It was none of that stuff. And I think we associate that with when we see people on their phone all day long, they must be really important and really busy. And what's pretty profound now is my phone doesn't ring. And 6 months ago, my phone never stopped ringing. I had 2 different phones I was carrying around because my phones would ring all day long and both of them would ring. And now because of doing my Ninja 9, now I'm so proactive in that. It feels good. It feels like high integrity where my phone doesn't ring. It hasn't rang since we've been sitting here. It hasn't rang all year. And that was probably the biggest epiphany I had. Like, oh my goodness, my phone doesn't ring off the hook all day long.
And you're making more money, right?
And I'm making more money. And when I have those calls, I make those out. I love being proactive. And I think it says a lot about who we are. And the clients are just so much more appreciative because there's a high anxiety level. We're dealing with a huge asset and a lot of questions they have, but the process helps you lead them through all that stuff so they have a peace of mind. And I just don't think there's anything better. And Mark's coaching on all that to follow the process because it's in an order for a reason. I like to skip ahead and get back to that phone call and do the things that matter. And I'd always try to throw off some of those relationship calls to somebody else. And Mark say, Ryan, I don't think you want to do that. You're missing that opportunity. Like, okay, fine. But when am I going to have the time? But I made the time and he couldn't be more right.
So Ryan, walk us through the things that are really working for you in your business. So now you have a ninja-based business. Give us a clear picture of what that really looks like for you.
Everything is working. I can't say there's one step or one part of the process of the Ninja 9 that doesn't work. It just digging into deeper commitment to the Ninja 9 is really where I'm seeing it. But I've always been a high level flow person. I always live interviews, talk to people. I've always enjoyed that. I'm always curious on how they're doing, but committing to that in a certain amount of that every single day, I've really started to see the compounding effect of that. So I know I'm a hare. So the word of the year that Mark challenged me on was to be steady. I know the tortoise wins the race, but I know I'm a hare. So, if I'm going to be steady, I'm going to have to do these things consistently. So I got the planner. And if you'd asked me 5 years ago if I'm going to be hand filling out a workbook planner in a digital age, I would probably laughed at you. But I look forward to that thing. It's one of the easiest, most practical application for the process of what's the next most important thing to do. So what's working is doing the work and doing it consistently and doing it if I feel like it or not. And the cool thing is, by the end of the day, I'm happy I did it.
We know that no one's perfect, and it's okay if you're not perfect, but you said it, as long as you're consistent. So most mornings, there you are, focused on gratitude, affirmations. You show up and stay on your agenda. You're doing your handwritten notes, client service calls. You just follow the steps.
I follow the steps. I woke up with gratitude, and that's kind of where I get my peace and sense of purpose, and then be able to actually apply that to those letters and to those phone calls. They connect, and it really speaks to my soul, because I feel like we're here and we all have different gifts, and we're supposed to use those gifts to bless others. And now I know who I'm supposed to be talking to, and I know the reason I'm calling. And it's never to sell real estate; it's to check in with them and see how they're doing. So a sense of purpose in real estate. This is a different type of real estate, a different type of process. So you look forward to those steps. And I think the best part of it, again, is just staying steady, because a year ago or 2 years ago, I would have made 50 calls in a day, 80 calls in a day, 30 texts. I would have thrown so much out there, not realizing the ripple effect of what happens when that boomerang comes back. And now I'm working till midnight trying to remember everything. But even like the forward and record worksheets that you guys have, I love how it says, what did you learn? So if I'm not asking forward questions and actually learning something about them, and Mark helped me with my 7-second pause. And he said, Ryan, you said it so nice. Ryan, I think you might process information a little bit faster. And I don't know if the people you're talking to are processing as fast as you do. Here, I want to challenge you on this. After you ask your question, I would like you to pause for 7 seconds and let them process. I thought, man, that seems like way too long. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do, And I started doing it, not just with clients, but all my kids, my wife, my friends. So again, applicable amongst everyone I know. And it's been so helpful, because a lot of things I assumed were important weren't, and actually allowed me to be more interested in them instead of me being, I don't want to say arrogant, but found myself talking about myself a lot, which feels icky by the time you're done. In the moment, you don't really realize you're doing it. So that 7-second pause has been super helpful. And that's just one of many tools that Mark has given me and challenged me on it. And the way he does it, the way he leads you to believing and doing it has been so helpful. Some of the other ones are just things that I say no to. He'll ask me to run through that and think about it. There's a cartoon depiction, I don't know if you've seen it. There's two people getting ready to do a race, and one person, all they can see is the finish line. The other person that's racing, all they can see is the hurdles. I'm the guy that thinks I can see the finish line. Like, I know we're going to get it figured out, but all the obstacles in between, because I'm just a high initiator, I don't really think of those. And Mark has been super helpful of, when you say yes to that, you're saying yes to so many other things. So that's been helping me really quantify, do I really want to do that? Do I have time? Because I'm saying no to so many other things. So I feel like this next year, or this current year rather, that we're in is going to be even better, because I'm starting to look at things from beginning to end and how much time commitment will go into that. And if that actually fits in our business model, which before it was just how many can I get on the books and how many can I close, and not even thinking that I probably just spent 2 years worth of time by saying yes to everything this week.
Mark, what are some things you notice different about Ryan's business now, 8 months into coaching together with Ryan? So how is Ryan's business different than it was when you first started?
And his energies was at capacity a lot. And that's when we kind of started talking to, you're saying yes to too many things. When you can't say yes to the things you want to, you got to say no to them now. And he embraces everything. You challenge him on it. And what I love about Ryan is he challenges me to challenge him a little bit. So it makes me a better coach, because am I saying the right things to get him to go the right way? And he makes us practice to make sure we're helping to get him where he wants to go, that you got to slow down to speed up, right? And Ryan just wants to go, because he loves helping people. He wants to see the results. He wants to help people, and coming from the more is better versus the slow down and let's work with the people that are coming towards us, stop chasing the other people. And I think his energy of just being able to focus on the clients that he wants to be in flow with and they want him to be in flow with. And once we got the mindset ready and his energy ready, was a huge difference. And when we knew Ryan was having a great year and we were getting ready for business planning and asked him that one question, okay, if you can wave your magic wand, you had your best year ever, would you like to repeat this same year next year? Would you do it again? There was a 7-second pause. I think it was about a 20-second pause. And all of a sudden I was uncomfortable going, okay, what do I say now? I was like, okay, I'm keeping quiet. I got to have him speak. He goes, no, I wouldn't, which kind of shocked me. So tell me more about that and how he got there in the first 6 months was high anxiety. And the last 6 months was on your own agenda. And you had weekends again with the family. You were seeing the kids' games. I think coming over in November and December, you felt like you got to enjoy the holidays. And right now, what do you got? January and February, you're starting out with your best first 2 months you've had.
No, I forgot about it actually. But when we first were talking, I used to say I'm at my bandwidth. But when you started helping me, I would say I'm fragmented. I feel fragmented because I have more than I can handle. I don't want to let anybody down. I'm thinking of all the people that I'm supposed to call back. And I don't know how that doesn't lead to a ton of anxiety. And then when you're fragmented, it doesn't feel like you're making any good decisions. It's like you have decision fatigue, and you really help me. I've had so much addition through subtraction. I'm such a believer in that now. And the more that I cut out, the more things that I want come in. And those things, they're a lot smoother. They feel a lot more natural, where I'm using my skill set and the level of professionalism that I enjoy compared to just being an errand boy. So just want to thank you for that. I actually forgot how fragmented I felt at that time, which for sure is the anxiety that comes from that. And your whole family feels that. So I was doing it for more than just myself, but I know my kids and friends have all said the same thing, that I think they're worried we're not selling a bunch of real estate because I'm not freaked out all the time.
Where you're enjoying it, but also I think there's a difference in the energy when working with somebody who already knows you, like you, and trusts you, and you're going through the pre-listing interview versus a lead that you've had to take 6 or 7 conversations or emails and ghosting to get there.
It's profoundly different. And I do follow the buyer interview, the seller process. So doing it now just feels so seamless. And the person that you're interviewing, they appreciate it so much because they realize that you care and you're not just telling them everything you know. You're trying to find out what's best for them. But what it was like before, trying to convert cold leads, I mean, you're calling people relentlessly. You might get just a little thumbs up or a like or maybe a little bit of response. Your heart gets excited, and then you're calling them even more, and you're just trying to find a way to connect with them. And then eventually you do, and they tell you they're going to meet you somewhere. So you go meet them there, and they call while you're driving there, which is 30 minutes away, and let you know that they already bought somewhere else or that they're not going to show up. But what you did challenge me on was, hey, you've already built a great relationship with your sphere clients. They already know you, like you, and trust you. How much different do you think that phone call will be? And that you gave me a lot of courage to make those calls. And when I did, it was just that. They were so happy that we were laughing, we were having a good time, or we were leaning on each other for building that relationship. And it was very fulfilling. And it was wild how many times I started stacking files on my desk when I started making these calls because of the real estate that was coming from that. Hey, Ryan, before you go, I got to get you in touch with my neighbor. I told him about you. Like, it came, I don't remember the percentage, but it was wild. I was just sitting there like hands up going, I can't believe this stuff works. And I had a stack of files of listings, and we really hit the fourth quarter last year on fire. And the best part is we really set really good expectations, and we hit those things, and we learned not to be so focused on the outcome and realizing their decisions to make, and we just control the process. That relieves a lot of anxiety as well. Rejection isn't something I've always been scared of. I needed rejection to get to the next no, so that didn't really work for me. But I didn't realize how much I was missing out on by building lasting relationships, and now I started saying yes to going to golf. Like, I didn't do anything but work 6 to 7 days a week, every single day, all day long. I'm old school, and that's the way I was raised. Be there first, leave last. And now my life is so much more fulfilling. It's absolutely changed every aspect of my life, and even the way that I look at things. I try to look at all the dimples on the golf ball, and you realize that there's a way you can have this life that is abundant by serving those people that care about you the most. And it's funny, those are the people I was avoiding.
Well, Ryan, we're so happy to hear all of this. And we've been focusing a lot on the numbers in your business. And I think mostly we're so happy to hear about how it changed your life for your family. We just applaud everything, the commitments you made, the courage you had to make that shift and go through that fear of making that shift. And now you're realizing the benefits of that. And Ryan, thank you. You helped a lot of people today. I'm convinced of that.
I hope so. And yeah, if anybody is considering switching from cold lead conversion, they don't know if they really trust this and the process, yeah, give me a call. I'll tell you everything about it, and you'll be a believer by the time we're done.
We appreciate that offer. That's really nice of you. Mark, also, thank you so much for being back on the podcast with us today.
Well, thanks, Eric. Thanks for having me. And I'm so glad Ryan was able to come out for leadership and us to hang out. So to be able to be here and running into each other at the gym today, both going, is the elevation getting to you? Yeah. How about you? Yeah. So very fortunate to be here. Thanks, Eric, for a great interview with Ryan.
That's been my pleasure. And thank you everyone so much for listening and engaging once again. We so much appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you on the next podcast. Take care.
If you enjoyed this episode, visit us at theninjasellingpodcast.com to learn more about ninja selling classes and coaching to get you started or further your journey on the ninja path.
Thank you for joining us. Now go have an incredible day.